Okay, so our next speaker is Ashley Clark. She serves as the press secretary for the Governor's Office of Community Partnerships and Strategic Communication. She's working on the state's most pressing public awareness efforts, including the state of California's Save Our Water campaign. Prior to joining the Office of Community Partnerships and Strategic Communications, Ashley worked at a boutique public affairs firm managing strategic communications campaigns across the firm's client portfolio. With a love for storytelling, Ashley has over a decade of experience building successful communication programs for a variety of clients, from government associations and nonprofits to major corporations and high visibility individuals. So Ashley's going to give us more of a statewide perspective, and she's just going to talk for a few minutes to us on the Save Our Water program. So please welcome Ashley.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and to the team at the Coachella Valley Water District for putting together this great event. As Lorraine mentioned, my name is Ashley Clark, and I'm here today from the Governor's Office of Community Partnerships and Strategic Communications, representing the state of California's Save Our Water campaign. So this has been a water year like no other, and today I'd like to share a few words on the current landscape and how together individuals, HOAs, water agencies like CVWD, and the state are working together to make water conservation the California way of life. The start of this year saw some of the wettest weeks we've ever experienced, following the 3 driest years on record. Over a dozen atmospheric rivers drenched the state, refilling most of our reservoirs and resulting in a statewide snowpack that's 237% of average, potentially the largest snowpack recorded in recorded history. While winter storms have helped snowpack and reservoirs, our groundwater basins are much slower to recover. In fact, it will take many years of above average precipitation to substantially improve after decades of overdrafting. Additionally, drought conditions remain on the Colorado River in Southern California and the Klamath Basin in Northern California, where recent precipitation was less significant. With climate change making swings between drought and flood more extreme, Californians should continue to use water wisely so that we can ensure a thriving economy, community, and environment in the long term. As the Department of Water Resources Director Nemeth said on Monday, even though we have this extraordinary snowpack, we know droughts are getting deeper and more frequent, and that means we need to use water more efficiently, no matter what our hydrologic conditions. Thanks to the work of individuals, HOAs, and water agencies like CVWD, 2022 saw historic water conservation gains. According to December's Water Board data, Californians saved 17% more water relative to December 2020, the state's baseline for comparison. This is the largest savings since California started collecting this data, and average residential water usage per person per day has been dropping steadily since 2020. In nearly every single county of the state. But we know that drought is always coming back to California, and we must continue to conserve water, rain or shine. Yard transformation rebates and other conservation programs offered by CVWD are critical to making conservation the California way of life, ensuring a safe and reliable water supply for generations to come. Over the course of today, we look forward to learning more about the tools and strategies that you all are using to save water and save California. At www.saveourwater.com, you can find more resources, videos, how-to guides for your own homes, communities, and as we all continue to conserve rain or shine, I'd like to thank you so much for your leadership, for inviting me to be here, and for hosting today's summit. So thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, so we're going to shut that off. There's a nice little echo there. Okay, so that was Ashley from the Save Our Water campaign, and CVWD has worked with the state in partnership to bring awareness about conservation and the state's upcoming water efficiency goals and that sort of thing. But to talk a little bit more about that is going to be our conservation manager. Adam McWey is the conservation manager for the Coachella Valley Water District, where he leads the water management sections, works with the public to encourage water conservation by identifying opportunities and developing programs, and supports the district's long-term water conservation efforts. Please welcome Adam McWey.
Okay, good morning everyone, and thanks again everyone for being here today. Hopefully we can get through some common questions and provide some useful information. As Lorraine said, so I'm the conservation manager here at the Water District, so I supervise the Water Management Division, and so just real broadly, so the Water Management Division, these I kind of think of as the four kind of core things that we're responsible for. So we administer all the inside and outdoor rebate programs. We also handle all the plan check reviews, which Scott kind of referred to with the landscape ordinance, making sure developments are in compliance with the landscape ordinance. We also have the water waste patrols, and issue those fines and administer those, and then also handle water budget appeals. And so I'm sure maybe some of your HOAs have engaged with our offices on that, verifying that your water budgets are accurate for billing. So getting into a little more detail on kind of what Scott was speaking to earlier about the drought. So is the drought over? It's on everyone's mind. So a couple weeks ago, it was all in the news that Governor Newsom had announced, issued an updated executive order that was rescinding or lessening some of the drought restrictions. So just kind of a highlight of what that executive order actually did. So it did rescind his call in prior executive orders that asked for all Californians to voluntarily reduce their consumption 15%, and he was comparing that back to 2020. So that request or ask from the governor has been rescinded. It also rescinded an order that he had given to the State Water Resources Control Board that had, he requested they enact some emergency regulations that required all water agencies, including Coachella Valley Water District, to adopt all the level 2 demand reduction actions that are identified in our water shortage contingency plan. So kind of the big ones that had the biggest impact on our customers was demand reduction action to reduce your consumption or reduce your water budget 10%. That correlated with the drought penalties. And then also the ban on daytime watering, which also led to water waste fines and whatnot. So those are kind of the two highlighted demand reduction actions there. As Scott kind of referred to earlier, we expect those to be rescinded at the next board meeting. But what the executive order didn't do, it did not rescind the emergency drought declaration. So I know Scott had up there the map, there's a lot of white, but the emergency drought declaration is still in effect for all 58 counties in the state of California. It also did not rescind the ban on irrigating non-functional turf. And through the State Water Resources Control Board, there's authority to fine up to $500 a day for violating that prohibition. We also, as Scott referred to, don't expect the topic of non-functional turf to go away anytime soon. The emergency regulations that were adopted are in effect through June 10th of this year, but we expect that they're going to extend it. And as there's also pending legislation to adopt into the state water code permanent restrictions on the irrigation of non-functional turf going forward. So I know non-functional turf is kind of a big topic, so let's get into that. So this is how the state currently defines non-functional turf per the emergency regulations. So it's a ground cover surface of mowed grass that is solely ornamental and not otherwise used for human recreation purposes. So it does not include school fields, sports fields, and areas regularly used for civic or community events. So in the emergency regulations, it specifically calls out it's applying to commercial, industrial, institutional users, and it also specifically states that includes HOAs. Currently, it applies just to the use of potable water for the irrigation of non-functional turf. So if you are irrigating with non-potable, which would be canal water or recycled water, the ban doesn't apply in that case. Residential property is not impacted, so single-family homes and also the residential properties that's located within HOAs. So think of it more as applying to common areas that may not be used for any community events and things like that, recreational purposes. And so this is AB 1572. That's the proposed legislation that would incorporate some sort of permanent ban into the state water code. I think that's everything. So just a little more on kind of determining what is functional turf, non-functional. These, again, are kind of not specified in the regulations, but kind of just to give you a better idea of what kind of questions to ask or to think about when you're trying to decide if something's functional or not. So is the turf played on and actually used? Is it used regularly? Is it a large enough of a space to utilize for community events or recreational use? Is it easily accessible? Is it safe to get to? Safe to use? So think of like areas in the median where nobody's going to be able to play or do anything in that. So that would be determined to be non-functional turf. It should be distinguishable by signage, postings. If it is a pet exercise area, have postings or signs that it'll be there, that's the purpose of that turf. Again, it's got to be large enough of an area where the dogs could utilize it for those purposes. Again, this is currently we're operating under this emergency regulations. We don't know specifically what it's going to look like when the legislation works its way all the way through. There could be slightly different definitions. They could define it, minimum square footage, minimum requirements for distinguishing pet areas, things like that. So we're keeping an eye on it, but things could be slightly different in the future. And another thing that's kind of caused a lot of confusion recently is there is an exception for irrigating trees that are located in non-functional turf areas that you can irrigate for the health of the tree. So in those situations, it's just important to keep in mind that the irrigation is for the health of the tree. So the irrigation cycles and things like that should be for the tree, not necessarily grass. You don't need to overseed or reseed the grass surrounding the tree to keep the tree healthy. So it should be limited to the tree. You can also retrofit kind of the spray irrigation into the picture here where they did the drip irrigation surrounding the kind of the roots of the tree. So that's kind of it on the non-functional turf. It's been a big thing in like Southern Nevada. It's already incorporated into their statewide laws, and so again, don't expect it to go away. And then, so we're expecting to go back to level 1, as I said earlier, but that doesn't eliminate all water waste. So these water wastes are kind of permanent restrictions in place even at level 1. It's applicable to any water source, and that's going to be kind of more blatant violations, irrigation that causes a lot of runoff, applying water to driveways, sidewalks, concrete, irrigating your lawn while it's raining or within 48 hours of noticeable rainfall. So I think that's all I have. So good news is we are here to help. we have our conservation programs and rebates to help you proactively try to identify that turf, remove it, reduce or eliminate water waste and things like that. So I want to hand it off now to Renee Ramirez, our it's Renee. So a lot of you may already be familiar with Renee. He's kind of our expert in the rebates programs with the HOAs and large landscapes, manages a lot of those projects and works with a lot of the landscapers and contractors out there in the field. So.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. A lot of familiar faces here. It's nice to put a face to an email or a phone call, because I know that's who I communicate a lot with, is just emails, phone calls. So it's very nice to kind of run into you guys and catch up. But yeah, like Adam was mentioning, I manage the HOA commercial rebate programs. So today I'm going to be talking about some of the rebates that we offer here at Coachella Valley. Some of these programs that we have here for residential and commercial customers, HOA, we've got simplified audits. At any point, if you have a property that you want us to come out there and take a look at the irrigation system, kind of walk the property and just kind of evaluate the landscape irrigation or just the landscape aesthetics of the property, we can do so. We do it at free of charge. So that's something that it's really nice for our HOA and residential communities. Conservation reviews, those are kind of like when you get a high water bill, these go into tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, and you're wondering what's going on. You've done a walkthrough of the property and you can't understand why your water bill is so high. You can contact us as well, and we'll make an appointment to go out there and we'll assess the property, and we try to do our very, very best to basically, pinpoint the areas of there might be a leak or a problem. And sometimes, we can refer, hey, you might need a leak detector because, there's something that sometimes we cannot just find a leak for the life of us. Again, we do landscape workshops. Then we do conservation kits for residential. Those are free of charge. You can go to our website and then you can apply for that and you can get a conservation kit for your home. We also it's under development, our CII, commercial, industrial, institutional. That's like for restaurants and so forth, hotels kind of detect, water waste or high water usage on those type of businesses. And for indoor water rates, we have the high efficiency toilets. We got some for residential. We offer $110 for a toilet, and I know you got to take that toilet to go get recycled to I think it's called Desert Recycling, 1,000 Palms. They charge you a $10 charge, so you got to make sure you save that receipt and turn it in with your invoice for the residential toilet, so that you'll get a reimbursement of $110 with $10 you can use back to for the recycled of the toilet. Again, high efficiency washing machines, we give a rebate of $140 for that. Hot water recirculating pump, we offer a rebate of $125 for that. And that basically recirculating pump, that's so you can have instant hot water, so you don't have to run your water and wait for it to get warm or get hot. Commercial pre-rinse nozzles, those are free of charge. You can just contact us and we can take that. That's basically for restaurants, kitchens, and we can help you reduce that water usage volume. And some of these outdoor rebates, that's who I work with a lot here. Again, we got the turf conversion program. It's at $3 a square foot. And again, this only applies for domestic water customers, because we fund our rebate programs through tier rate paying customers and so forth. So you might also, some cities you might heard, some cities offer a rebate as well, but those funds are going very, very quickly. So they're very high in demand, those rebates. So because it's partnering up with some of these cities. We've got Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, and City of Palm Desert who are participating with us. And for the turf conversion program, for the commercial side of it, it's 25,000 square feet per application, and you can do multiple applications for one project. And for residential, it is, again, it's same thing. It's 10,000 square feet max cap for residential properties. And cities, some of them, check with some of these cities, because some of them, they also have a cap on the rebates. And smart irrigation controller install or rebate For residential controllers, it is free of charge. All we ask is that you have a functioning irrigation system, and it is a plug-in. We can't do any hardwiring, so it has to be a plug-in residential controller that we can install for free and program for free. And for commercial, we offer a rebate of 75% per application for the 75% of the cost of the controller minus the installation and taxes. And there's a 10,000 cap on that, and multiple applications are accepted as well. If you have a big project, if you have 30, 40 controllers, and it maximizes or it goes over that 10,000, yeah, you can submit multiple applications for that. Irrigation upgrade, that is only for commercial HOA. That is to change out your old inefficient spray shrub planter beds to something more efficient, like a drip source emitter or a Netafim. We pay 50 cents per square foot. Maximum we can do is 10,000 square feet per application. Multiple applications are accepted as well. So if you had 100,000 square feet, just go ahead and submit 10 applications, and we can rebate on that as well. Water brooms, those are for again commercial pools. Those are really great. Those are for free of charge as well. Just contact us, and we can make an appointment and go take those water brooms to you. And again, you can go to our website, cvwd.org, and there's a new way to apply for these rebate programs now. For residential and commercial, we have a droplet. So we ask that you use that portal, online portal, to submit your applications. And then we'll go ahead and definitely help you guys out with any rebates, any project you might have. So I think that's my portion of it. Thank you.
Yes, I'll take that. We're still morning. Good morning. Thank you, Renee. That was awesome. My name's Lisa. I work in water management as well, and I'm here today to talk to you about the really interesting subject of water budgets. So please bear with me. We'll get through this together. There will be a quiz after lunch. Okay. So Scott alluded to this earlier. Water budgeting came from the water management plan, the urban water conservation goal. There's several key elements there, as you see, but a budget tiered rates is what we're talking about now. So they've been adopted because tiered rates are a proven tool for efficiency. They encourage efficiency and conservation. They're fair and equitable. They reward customers who use less water, and they target and reduce wasteful use. So why a water budget? Well, this kind of rate structure allows for a reasonable amount of water based on each customer's individual needs. And in so doing, water use that exceeds the water budget is charged a higher rate to discourage wasteful water use. You may have seen this before on our website if you've ever taken a look at our domestic water rates, but you can see it's a tiered rate system. So when you stay within tiers 1 and 2, you are within your water budget as a residential customer. As a commercial customer or an HOA, you don't get billed in tier 1, you start your billing at tier 2. And if you don't go above tier 2, then you're awesome and it's an A+, because it means you're efficient. So here's what the residential water budget looks like. We assume that there's 4 people in the home, and there may not be, and that's okay, but we assume that there's 4 people there. There's enough for your indoor usage for 4 people to have 50 gallons per person per day for every day of the billing cycle. So if you don't have 4 people and you have 2 people, what does that mean? That means you're getting outdoor water use at the indoor rate. So that's cool, because the indoor rate is actually below the cost of the water. And for outdoor, and this applies to residential customers as well as to HOAs, it's based on amount of landscape area and weather. So there's several components in the weather factor, and I'll get to that in a second. For indoor use for HOAs and commercial customers, you're getting billed based on the demand that you place on the sewer system. So this is measured in equivalent dwelling units, or EDUs. And when an HOA or a commercial enterprise applies for a meter, they tell us what the meter is going to be used for, and we make a recommendation as to how many EDUs should be purchased in order to satisfy the demand that's going to be placed on the system. One EDU in this instance is equal to 8 CCFs, which is almost 6,000 gallons. So here's the commercial and HOA outdoor. This is where I've worked with a whole lot of you in here on these. So we're talking about weather and amount of landscaped area. There's a budget calculation, and it's kind of daunting there. But basically what we're saying is it's the amount of landscape area that you're irrigating, ETO, which is a short name for weather information, and it incorporates things like wind and radiation from the sun and air temperature and several factors. It's kind of a composite number. Also, we account for the fact that there's different zones throughout the valley that have different needs. So, for example, anybody who's out in the Thousand Palms area has a lot more wind to deal with, whereas somebody who lives in a cove area has more of that mountain shade and not so much of the wind. So that's considered in your budget every month. There's also a monthly plant factor that is a seasonal number. The volumetric conversion is there because we bill in volume. So all of the numbers that we've gathered before this are linear measurements. So we convert it to volume for the billing. And then we divide all of those things by a supposed irrigation system efficiency of 70%. 70% is not unreasonable. It means that you need to keep your system up and upgraded, and an older system may not meet that 70%. But this is to encourage you to get there. So in a HOA situation where you have multiple meters serving different areas, when there are meters that are hydraulically looped together, we combine the areas that those meters serve into one aggregate number. So you're getting the benefit of that whole area, which applies to the budget of those meters. If they're not looped, that's not an option. So if the meters are not hydraulically looped, they each get budgeted for the area that they alone serve. And that's what we refer to as a standalone meter, a meter that is not connected hydraulically with another. When there's multiple meters and they're not looped, when there's 10 or more meters, we can arrange a consolidated bill for you, but it's not going to be an aggregate budget. So what kind of reasons might there be for the budget to be wrong? So one example would be that the landscape area that's attributed to a meter or set of meters is too big or too small. So we don't go out and measure everything by hand. We do our best using software in-house, but if you think that the landscape area is too small, you need to give us a call so we can fix that. Another example is if a meter's been changed from what it was designated to be used for. So if you have a landscape meter and it gets connected somehow to a pool restroom, that's going to be an issue. It's going to affect your budget, and you'll definitely want to avoid doing that. And again, this is something you can call and talk to us about in water management. And then one of the other interesting things that sometimes happens is, especially in HOAs, is the HOA gets a budget and the residents get a budget. Sometimes those landscape areas overlap. And in the interest of efficiency and sustainability, we want to avoid that. So we try to make sure that the HOA is getting everything that they should be getting for their meters, and that the homeowner is getting everything that they are responsible for. Okay, so if you think it's wrong, again, you can call us over in Water Management and you can request a budget appeal. There's a simple form on our website you can fill out, or again, give us a call. You can ask for a budget appeal, but we also may do one without you asking because that's part of our way to commit to sustainability, because we want to make sure the budgets are correct. And the problem with being budgeted too much is if there's a leak, there might not be any incentive to fix it if you have too much budget. You should have enough to do what you need to do, but if you have too much, that kind of is counterintuitive to efficiency and sustainability. And then this is what I was mentioning before, that sometimes there is an overlap between HOA area and homeowner area. So we work really hard to make sure there's a distinction there so that the budget is correct for everybody. So as Adam had pointed out earlier, we have several areas that we cover in the Water Management Division, but what we're talking about with respect to water budgets is we want to ensure that the budget's accurate. That's really important. And we want to help you to meet the budget. If you're having a problem, if you're struggling with that, we are here to help. So please call us if we can help. We're happy to do that. And that's all I have. Anybody? I'm Lisa. I'm Lisa Francis. I'm in the Water Management Division, and there's a team of us. We call ourselves the Budget Review Team, and we're happy to help you.
Does anybody have any questions? Right over there.
Get this mic over to you.
Could you talk a little bit how pools and spas are budgeted and how they should best be tracked as far as separate water meters or whatever?
Okay, so the question was about pools and spas, and it's treated a little bit differently. When it's an HOA's pool, we measure the surface area of the pool, and you get an allocation of budget for those specific areas that's apart and separate from the weather and the landscape. When it's a homeowner's pool or spa, that's incorporated into the landscaped area. So really, it's the same thing for both commercial and for residential customers. We just do it a little bit differently for the HOAs. This is a way for us to distinguish what kind of budget you need for your pools and spas versus what you're putting on the ground for your irrigation. Yes, ma'am.
In an HOA environment, a lot of HOAs have showers on the outside. How is that calculated into your formula?
Okay, so showers have a drain, so that means that's water going down the drain. So those should not be on landscape meters.
How do you get it?
Well, are you asking?
Would it be part of the pool budget?
Okay, so if you have a landscape meter that's serving a shower, and we find out that that's the case, and it could be for numerous reasons that that's done, but we're going to ask you to either separate it so that you can have a division between irrigation and domestic use. That's our billing is set up for that. You don't want to be paying sewer fees on top of irrigation water, because why would you? And if you're not paying sewer fees and you're serving a shower, then that's demand that you're placing on the sewer that you're not paying for. So it's a couple of different things there. Yes.
Situation?
Yes, anything that goes down a drain. Yes. Oh, okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. Did you have
Any other questions?
Am I done?
Okay.
And thank you guys so much for coming. I do talk to a lot of you by email or by phone, and it's really nice to see your beautiful faces in here. Thank you so much for supporting this event. Yeah.
I just had a question on, is there any rebates available to cover the cost of water pressure reduction valves for the meters, the water meter coming into the HOA?
No, we don't. We currently don't have one.
Yes. So I think we're going to hand it off to Mark. Do you want to? Yes. It's the one that says Mark Dodge. And we're very happy to have a respected industry leader talk to you a little bit more about sustainability.